My name is Marcus, and I started my company in my parents' garage with nothing but a laptop and a dream. Today, that company is worth $50 million. But getting here meant enduring years of my family's constant criticism and doubt. The sound of my mother's heels clicking against the concrete floor of our garage had become a dreaded morning ritual. Like clockwork, she'd appear at 9 a.m., arms crossed, disappointment etched on her face. "Still here with your computers," she'd say, eyeing my workstation with disdain. "Your brother just performed his third successful surgery this month, and what exactly are you doing?" I tried to explain about the software I was developing, about the potential of artificial intelligence in cybersecurity, but her eyes would glaze over. To her, if it wasn't medicine or law, it wasn't a real career. My workspace wasn't much. Just a beaten-up desk from a garage sale, 3 monitors I'd salvaged from my old job, and a whiteboard covered in code sequences. But to me, it was everything. Every algorithm I wrote, every line of code I debugged brought me closer to my vision. Creating an AI-powered security system that could protect small businesses from cyber threats at a fraction of the current market cost. "Marcus," my father's voice boomed from the doorway one evening, "your mother and I need to talk to you." I knew that tone. It was the same one he used when I told him I was dropping out of medical school to pursue programming. I saved my work and followed him inside. They sat me down at our kitchen table, the same spot where they'd lectured me countless times about wasting my potential. My brother David's medical school graduation photo smiled down at us from its prominent place on the wall. A constant reminder of what they considered success. "This has gone on long enough," my father began, his voice stern. "You're 28 years old, living in our garage, playing with computers while your brother is saving lives. Do you know how embarrassing it is when our friends ask about you?" "I'm not playing, Dad. I'm building something important. My security software could help thousands of small businesses." "Enough," he cut me off. "Either get a real job or move out. We're done subsidizing this fantasy." My mother reached across the table, her face softening slightly. "There's an opening at Uncle Phil's accounting firm. He's willing to take you on, train you properly. You could have a stable career, maybe meet someone nice." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "I'm not giving up on this. What I'm developing could revolutionize how small businesses protect themselves online. Just give me 6 more months." "6 more months of what?" My father's voice rose. "6 more months of you hunched over those screens, muttering about code while real opportunities pass you by. While your brother builds a respectable career and a family." That moment crystallized everything for me. They would never understand, never see past their narrow definition of success. But I knew what I was building. I'd seen the potential in my early tests, noticed how my prototype could detect and neutralize threats that even expensive enterprise systems missed. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll pay rent. $500 a month for the garage space, but I'm not quitting." They exchanged glances, clearly not expecting this response. My father opened his mouth to argue, but my mother placed a hand on his arm. "Fine. $500 a month. But don't expect us to keep defending your choices to the family." I nodded and walked back to my garage office. That night, I worked until sunrise, fueled by a mixture of determination and defiance. I knew my system worked. I'd already implemented early versions in 3 local businesses, protecting them from attacks that would have otherwise crippled their operations. What my parents didn't know was that I'd already caught the attention of several tech investors. My inbox held messages from venture capitalists interested in my unique approach to AI-driven security. But I wanted to perfect the system before seeking serious funding. The next few months passed in a blur of coding sessions and client meetings disguised as job interviews to keep my parents from asking questions. Every success, every small breakthrough was met with the same response. "That's nice, dear. Did you hear David just bought a house?" Then came the morning that changed everything. I was debugging a new feature when my father burst into the garage, his face ashen. "The company were being hacked. Everything's locked up." Morrison Tech, my father's medical supply company, had been hit with ransomware. The attackers were demanding $2 million in cryptocurrency to unlock their systems. For a medium-sized family business, it was a potentially fatal blow. "Let me help," I said, already reaching for my laptop. "What could you possibly do?" He scoffed, but desperation made him pause. "The IT team says it's hopeless." "Just let me try." For the next 48 hours, I barely moved from my desk. My security system, which I'd been perfecting for 3 years, went head-to-head with the ransomware. Line by line, byte by byte, my AI identified patterns, exploited weaknesses, and systematically dismantled the attack. By the third morning, I not only removed the ransomware, but also traced the attack back to its source and strengthened their entire network against future threats. The company's data was safe, their systems more secure than ever. My father stood in the garage doorway staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. It wasn't quite respect. Not yet, but it was something close to amazement. "How did you?" he started. "This is what I've been playing with for the past 3 years," I said quietly, turning my main monitor toward him. "This is what I've been trying to tell you about." On the screen was my security systems interface showing real-time threat detection and prevention across multiple networks. It was elegant, powerful, and unlike anything else on the market. That's when my phone rang. It was James Morton, CEO of CyberShield Industries, one of the largest cybersecurity firms in the country. Somehow, he'd heard about what my system had accomplished. "Mr. Chen," his voice was eager, "we've been watching your work for a while. But what you just did with that ransomware attack. We need to talk. Immediately?" I looked at my father, still standing in the doorway, and put the call on speaker. As James outlined an initial offer, $50 million for my company, with me staying on as Chief Technology Officer, I watched my father's face transform. But this wasn't the end of the story, because what my family didn't know, what no one knew yet, was that I had plans of my own. Plans that would make that $50 million look like pocket change and would force my family to completely reevaluate everything they thought they knew about success. The news of CyberShield's offer spread through my family like wildfire. Suddenly, the garage they'd mocked for years became a place of pilgrimage. Relatives who had never shown interest in my work now appeared daily, armed with business ideas and investment opportunities. My brother David was the first to visit, his surgical scrubs exchanged for a business suit. "Marcus," he said, settling into my spare chair with an air of authority he'd perfected over years of being the family's golden child. "We need to discuss how to handle this opportunity as a family." I continued typing, not bothering to look up. "Handle what exactly?" "The CyberShield offer, of course. $50 million is significant capital. With my business acumen and your technical skills, we could turn this into a real empire." I finally turned to face him. "Your business acumen? David, you've never shown interest in anything I've done here. Last month, you told Aunt Sarah I was going through a phase." He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "That was before I understood the potential. Look, I've already spoken to some colleagues at the hospital. Their investment group." No, the word came out sharper than I intended, but years of dismissal had built up to this moment. "This is my company, my work. I don't need your help managing it." David's face darkened. "Don't be stupid, Marcus. You're a programmer, not a businessman. You need someone who understands the real world." Before I could respond, my parents appeared in the doorway. My mother's eyes were bright with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen directed at me in years. "Marcus, darling," she rushed forward, "we've been thinking. Your father's company has excellent connections in the medical industry. If we integrate your security system into Morrison Tech's network, think of the possibilities." I sat back, watching them plan my future as they had always done. But this time was different. This time, I held all the cards. "Actually," I said calmly, "I've already made my decision about CyberShield's offer." They fell silent, waiting. My father stepped forward, his business face on. "Son, before you make any hasty decisions, let's discuss this as a family. Your brother and I have experience in corporate negotiations." I declined their offer. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's smile froze, David's jaw dropped, and my father's face turned an interesting shade of red. "You did what, JT?" my father exploded. "Are you insane? $50 million, Marcus. Do you have any idea what that kind of money means?" I stood up, walked to my whiteboard, and erased a complex diagram I've been working on. "I know exactly what it means, but what you don't know is that while you were all dismissing me as a failure, I wasn't just building a security system. I was building an empire." I turned on my main screen, displaying a familiar logo. Morrison Tech's competitor, Allied Medical Supplies. 2 months ago, Allied experienced a devastating cyber attack. Their stock plummeted. Their clients fled, and they were desperate for a solution. My solution. Understanding began to dawn on my father's face. Allied was Morrison Tech's biggest rival, and they had recently announced a mysterious partnership with a tech startup that had revolutionized their security infrastructure. That startup, I continued, is mine, but not under my name. I incorporated as Phoenix Digital Solutions, and I own 51% of Allied Cybersecurity Division. Their stock has tripled since implementing my system. David sank into a chair. But that would mean. It means Phoenix Digital is now valued at $200 million, and that's just the beginning. Last week, 3 more major medical supply companies signed contracts with us. Morrison Tech is now the only major player in the industry not protected by my system. My father's business instincts kicked in. Morrison Tech needs that protection. We'll buy it. Name your price. I smiled, remembering all the times he told me I didn't understand business. That's not how this works anymore, Dad. You see, tomorrow morning, Allied is announcing a merger. They're acquiring Morrison Tech. The color drained from my father's face. What? The board voted this afternoon. They're tired of falling behind technologically. Allied's offer was too good to refuse, and guess who advised them on the merger? My mother sank into a chair beside David. Marcus, you can't. I'm not doing anything except running my company successfully. The same company you all mocked as a waste of time. The same hobby you insisted would never amount to anything. I stood up, straightening my shoulders. Tomorrow, I'm moving my operations to our new headquarters downtown. The garage that was my home for 3 years, that you saw as a symbol of my failure, will become a testament to what happens when you believe in yourself, even when no one else does. David found his voice first. This is revenge, isn't it? For all the times we compared you to me? I shook my head. No, David. This is business. Something you all insisted I knew nothing about. Though I have to admit, the irony isn't lost on me. The son you were so ashamed of now owns the company you spent 30 years building. My father stepped forward, his face a mix of anger and something else. Respect, perhaps, or fear. What do you want? Nothing. Morrison Tech will be in good hands with Allied. I'll make sure of that. The employees you've always protected will keep their jobs. The company will grow. The only difference is that now, success will be measured by innovation, not tradition. I began packing my equipment, each piece a reminder of the nights I'd spent building my dream while they slept soundly, convinced of my failure. You know what the funny thing is? If any of you had bothered to really look at what I was doing, had shown even a fraction of the interest you're showing now, things might be different. My mother wiped away tears. We were just trying to protect you, to make sure you had a stable future. No, I cut her off gently. You were trying to make me fit your definition of success. But success doesn't always wear a white coat or carry a briefcase. Sometimes it wears headphones and works out of a garage. As I loaded the last box into my car, my father called out, Marcus, wait. What happens now? I turned to face my family one last time, standing in the garage doorway where they doubted me so many times. Now I'm going to do exactly what I've been doing for the past 3 years. I'm going to change the world, one line of code at a time. The only difference is, now you finally understand what I've been trying to tell you all along. The next morning, as Allied announced the Morrison Tech acquisition, my name appeared in headlines across the business world. The garage that had been my sanctuary became a symbol of innovation, featured in business magazines and startup success stories. My family? They had to adjust to a new reality. One where the son they dismissed as a failure had not only succeeded, but had surpassed their wildest expectations. David still practices medicine, but he stopped comparing our paths. My parents had to accept that success comes in many forms, and sometimes the greatest achievements grow from the seeds of doubt. As for me, I kept the garage key, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder that sometimes the greatest ventures start in the humblest places. And sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right.